My name is Nathan, and on the day of my father's funeral, I realized exactly where I stood in my own family. Dad was gone, his casket lowered into the ground, and while people whispered about how fair and wise he had been in life, the lawyer was inside his office reading his will, and that was when fairness died too. My older brother, Daniel, walked out first. Tall, perfect, wearing Dad's old cufflinks like he'd already slipped into the role. He had that small, satisfied smile, the kind you wear when life keeps telling you, yes, you're the chosen one. Mom hugged him, the board members shook his hand, and even some of Dad's friends were patting him on the back. Me? I was standing by the window, holding a paper folder, staring at one line. To my son, Nathan Cole, I leave the fishing boat Marigold, currently docked at the family marina. That's it. Daniel got the company, Cole Maritime and Logistics, worth over $41 million in ships, warehouses, contracts, and land. I got a 30-year-old boat that hadn't left the harbor in years. At first, I thought it was a mistake. I went back to the lawyer. Mr. Grayson, this can't be right. He gave me that practiced, sad professional smile. Your father was very clear, Nathan. Your brother will assume the chairmanship. You receive the Marigold. The company was built by both of us, I argued. I worked at the docks. I learned the business. I was the one who... He cut me off softly. Your father said, Daniel is the one to run the empire. Nathan gets what matters. Those were his words. What matters? A rotten old boat mattered. I walked outside, and Daniel was already surrounded. He glanced at me like I was some distant cousin, not his own brother. You good? He asked, but he wasn't really asking. You got everything, I said. He shrugged. Dad trusted me with it. You know, I was always meant to run the company. I laughed once, without humor. And I was meant to fish. You were meant to do whatever you want, he said, pretending to be gracious. Besides, that boat was Dad's favorite thing once. Make something of it. Make something of it. I wanted to punch him. But instead, I drove to the marina. The Marigold sat in slip 17, rocking slowly in the dull gray water. She used to be beautiful when I was a kid, dark green hull, brass railings, that wooden wheel Dad polished himself. We used to go out every Sunday. He'd make us wear life jackets even in calm water. He'd tell me stories about currents, storms, and how every ship hides a secret. Now the paint was flaking. One of the windows was cracked. The deck smelled like old rope and engine oil. It looked like a memory someone left to die. 41 million to him, I muttered, and a floating antique to me. I climbed aboard. The cabin was small, wheel, 2 benches, Dad's old compass still bolted to the dash. On the wall was a photo of me at 12, grinning, holding a small fish. Dad had kept that? After everything? Even after he sent me to the docks instead of college? After he kept saying, Daniel's the future, you're the muscle. I sat on the bench, letting the anger roll through me. The kind of anger that isn't loud, it's heavy. Why did he do it? Why leave everything to Daniel? Why did he tell the lawyer, I get what matters? I started the boat out of habit. The engine coughed, rattled, but came alive. Dad may have ignored me, but he hadn't ignored maintenance. I eased her out of the slip, just to feel something move under me. I didn't go far, just into the open part of the harbor. The autumn air was sharp, the water dark like steel. I killed the engine, and just sat there with the waves knocking softly against the hull. That's when I noticed it. A thud. Not from outside. From inside the hull. It was subtle, like something shifted as the boat rocked. I frowned. I knew this boat. I'd helped Dad repaint it when I was 16. There was storage under the floor, but this sounded hollow. I opened the floor hatch. Rope, a small anchor, some old tools. Nothing weird. I stepped back, listening. Another dull slide. It was coming from starboard, toward the lower part of the hull. Something was inside the paneling. I stared at it for a long second. Dad, what did you leave in here? I grabbed a screwdriver from the toolbox and knelt. The inner paneling on that side was newer than the rest. Fresh screws. Dad had done this recently. He'd been sick the last year. In and out of hospitals. He hadn't gone out on the boat with us. So why was this panel new? I unscrewed it. Behind it was another layer, thin marine plywood. I pried it off carefully. And there it was. A waterproof case. Long, dark, heavy. I pulled it out and set it on the bench. My heart was beating faster than it had all day. I flipped the latches. Inside were folders. Thick, clean, labeled in Dad's handwriting. Offshore assets. Private accounts. Pre-company holdings. Personal letters. My mouth went dry. I opened the first folder. Bank statements. Not from our usual banks. These were from Cayman, Luxembourg, Singapore. Numbers with too many zeros. Dates from before the company officially became Coal Maritime and Logistics. Then I understood. Dad had hidden assets, real assets, outside the company. The empire Daniel inherited? That was the public empire. The one on paper. The one boards can see, the government can tax, the family can fight over. But this was Dad's personal current. The deep water under everything. If the numbers were real, and they looked real, this was tens of millions. Some of it older than the company, some of it made from side deals, some from properties not in the corporate books. Dad had mentioned once when he was drunk, never put all your boats in the same harbor, Nate. I thought it was just a saying. I opened the second folder. Inside was a single letter, handwritten. Son, if you found this, it means you listened. I sat back. My hands were shaking. I read, Nathan, you were always the one who paid attention to the real work. Daniel knows how to talk to people. You know how to read the water. The company goes to him because he wants it more. He thinks power is chairs, meetings, buildings with our name. Let him have that. His strength is in being seen. Yours is in not being seen. This boat has carried every conversation I didn't want the family to hear. Every deal that didn't need to reach the board. You were the only one who ever sat beside me quietly and asked, why are we doing it this way, Dad? Because some things aren't for everybody. What I built publicly is worth about $41 million, maybe more by the time you read this. It will make Daniel feel like a king. It will also make him a target. Taxes, cousins, shareholders, in-laws. Everyone pulls at the big crown. Why kept off the books is for the son who never complained that I didn't hand him titles. The accounts listed here are yours. You will find access codes, trustees' names, and a contact in Bermuda. He owes me. He will teach you how to move quietly. Do not tell your brother. Do not tell your mother. Families change when they smell money. I didn't leave you less. I left you what I trusted you with. You always saw me as I was, not as people said I was. So I saw you too. Dad. I just sat there, the letter in my hands, the harbor around me silent, except for the slap of water. He saw me. For years I thought I was the leftover son. The one assigned to the docks while Daniel got boardrooms. The one who stayed late handling shipments while Daniel went to charity events. I thought Dad didn't value me. But he did. He just didn't show it where everybody could see. I opened the third folder. There were codes to safety deposit boxes in 2 different countries, ownership papers for a small island storage facility, a deed to waterfront property in Maine under a holding name, and a list of gold holdings stored offshore. This wasn't a side stash. This was a shadow empire. And it was mine. I laughed suddenly. Not bitter, just stunned. Of course Dad hid it in the boat. The one thing nobody in the family wanted. The one thing only I would actually sail. The one thing tied to our real memories, not our public life. I put everything back in the case and resealed it. I took the boat back to the marina calm now. The same boat that looked like a pity gif an hour ago now felt like a vault. When I stepped onto the dock, Daniel was waiting there. He must have followed me or called the marina. So, he said, glancing at the marigold. You gonna fix that thing up? Yeah, I said, wiping my hands. I think I will. He clapped my shoulder like a generous king. Good. You've always been more hands-on. I'll handle the business side. You do your thing. Sure, I said. He had no idea. For the next week, I did exactly what Dad said not to do. I told no one. I met with Dad's contact online, using the details he provided. The accounts were real. The balances were real. Some of them hadn't been touched in years. One had over $12 million in it alone. Another had assets in the form of real estate trusts. Altogether, if I played it smart, it was easily comparable to what Daniel got, maybe not the exact $41 million in valuation, but close enough that I didn't feel like the forgotten son anymore. And unlike Daniel's, mine wasn't tied to a board vote. A month later, the family gathered for a legacy dinner at my mother's insistence. She wanted to celebrate Daniel taking over. We were at the big house, long table, fancy crystal. People toasted him, congratulated him. He talked about expansion, modernization. Dad's vision. Then Mom looked at me. And you, Nathan? She asked, a little forced smile. How's the boat? I smiled back. Best thing Dad could have given me. Daniel smirked. Must be nice to have no pressure. I held his gaze. Yeah, I said. It is. I don't have to answer to anyone. He didn't understand the double meaning. He thought I was talking about schedules. But I knew. I knew Dad wasn't punishing me. He was protecting me. He'd given Daniel the big, visible throne. He'd given me the keys to the secret room. Later that night, when I was alone in the driveway, I looked up at the dark house and whispered, "I get it now, Dad." Some inherit the crown. Some inherit the map. Turns out, the real treasure wasn't in the office after all. It was in the hull.